I ain't getting on no plane, fool.
What else did I buy from Bolton Toy Fair apart from one BA Baracus? Stay tuned. So let's start with something completely predictable for me. This I had never ever seen before. It was very reasonably priced, and so of course I thought it would be rude not to. But the reason I got this one and not the big sort of rescue pack that I had seen before was in part because I hadn't seen it before, but also because I like to try and find out where these random little pod vehicles that I sometimes see have actually come from. Now, you'll have seen that I've just recently released a video that solved one of those questions that I had. Because and this now means that I know where this little guy came from. Because all the little mini moles tend to have distinct features, and for this one it's the sort of horizontal bars on the end of the mole element of it there, the sort of, the digging cone. And I don't think I was ever entirely sure where this one had come from either, quite frankly. I can't even... Yeah, I mean, there isn't anything on it that really sort of tells you anything about it whatsoever. But I think I had identified it having come from the Vivid era. But this puts it beyond doubt, because as you can see in here is a mole, which is this little mole. Exactly the same red dots on top and exactly the same type of drill bit. But it also confirms that this is the right Thunderbird 4 for this Thunderbird 2 as well. So it's, these categorically match up. So although it looks like it's got the sort of shovel on the front of it, it's quite a clever piece of moulding, because it's actually blended into the body. It's not out on the front. But also in here we have a little firefly, which is interesting because it eliminates this as a source for another firefly that I have. But there's also this one, which is just termed a rescue vehicle. And I can remember what this one is. This has these two magnetic grapplers at the front here that sort of ping off and lock onto something so that it can then be pulled out of jeopardy. And I think this was in the episode where they needed to rescue that big sort of army sort of land walker out of a pit. I'm pretty sure it was used in that episode. So this is the Vivid Imagination's Soundtech small Thunderbird 2 that's sort of sat here in the middle. And, all of these obviously will fit into its pod. But for me personally, this is the first time that I have seen these two pod vehicles anywhere. I don't think... I've had a look upstairs and I can't find any examples of them. It looks like somebody might... I've just noticed that actually. It looks like somebody might have had a little go at trying to get that one out at some point. A little bit of damage to the box, but I say I didn't pay a huge amount for it. Got a DVD in there as well. So it's 40th anniversary release, this one actually. So that's quite nice. And some general sort of blurb on the back there, and the vehicles arrayed on the nice gravelly floor, and a little advert for the Soundtech Tracy Island, and of course the Soundtech Thunderbird 2, which presumably, now that's an interesting thing. I've just noticed that now. I wonder if that's got to be the bigger one, because that looks for all the world like the Thunderbird 4 that takes the figures, which means that, oh yeah, that's right, because there is a mole that takes a bigger figure, and that's right. And in fact, I've got that set. In fact, if I look to my left, I can probably just about make it out. Yeah, I know where they're from. That's okay. So, yeah, so it's Thunderbird 2 needs batteries and so on. But that's quite nice, though, because it means if I ever saw those on auctions now, I would know where they came from. Not that I need it, but I don't know whether or not I should put this back up for auction. I say it's got some damage to the box here, but obviously everything else is kind of, mint in the box. None of them seem to have escaped, I would think. But the box is ripped in more places than I'd really noticed before. So what happens when you get things home? You start noticing more bits and bobs. But anyway, it's a nice thing to have seen, and I just thought that for the price, it would be rude not to get it in the hand. And maybe I'll maybe I will get the stuff out and actually have a look at it on a video, because I could add that to my... I haven't ever done a video that's really dedicated to the pod vehicles, because I don't have that many, but now all of a sudden I have 2 more. So perhaps I will do. Now then, let's get on to the next. So this was another slightly random pickup. Not the sort of thing I would normally get, but again, it wasn't expensive. I just liked the way that it displayed. And if you're unfamiliar, this is an Avengers Quinjet, I'm pretty confident it's a movie tie-in version, basically, simply because in the comics they tend to look a little bit different to this, but I'm fairly sure this is a sort of, like an Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. kind of era one. But the reason I liked this was because A, because I thought it displayed quite nicely. B, because the guy was almost going to pay me to take it off him because it was so big he hated carrying it around all the time, which made me chuckle. But also because I just think it has a lot of playability. And as I say, my son quite likes Avengers stuff as well, and I haven't actually shown it to him yet, ironically. But I think he'd quite appreciate this as well as toys go. I mean, he's getting a bit old for toys now, but I need to have a good look at this, and I will probably do a separate video on it. But I did appreciate the fact that it's got sort of landing gear, it's got sort of turbofan emplacements there. It's got a rear hatch that I believe comes down, and then you've got a little bit of sort of detail in there as well. I don't know if there was anything actually sort of specifically fitted into the rear. It's quite small to have large scale figures going in it, if that makes sense. So I'm not sure that it actually has figures that fit it. Apologies if you hear fireworks in the background. It is November the 5th. I'm not sure what's going on with the top here, and whether or not this is supposed to sort of fit in any more convincingly. But as I say, I need to have a good look around it just to see exactly what it does. But I just thought that as a sort of quite a nice cockpit piece as well there. I just thought that it was the sort of thing that just sort of drew my eye, and that's the dangerous thing about wandering around these toy fairs. You do get things that just say, "Oh, look at me," and then you end up buying it when you had no intention whatsoever of doing so when you first went into the place. But yeah, so. As I say, not one I would have picked up. Quite a modern toy for me, I imagine. I haven't even dared to sort of investigate to see. Well, here's the blurb. Hasbro, yep, 2011. So actually, it is over 10 years old. It's not actually a spring chicken, which figures, I suppose, these days, because it has been a while since Endgame. And I imagine this is probably an Endgame sort of piece. I really do hope I can figure out how to make that stay up more convincingly. But as a sort of sitting on the shelf display piece, I think that's a bit of a beast for what I didn't pay for it. I mean, God knows how much that was when it first came out. But yeah, quite happy with that. Now, strangely enough, from the same vendor, I picked up this, which is a Battle Kings missile launcher. Now, I already have the Adventure 2000 equivalent of this, but I like this one because it has the sticker on the side of the hatches. You can see there, Matchbox Battle Kings 1975. It's a K3 missile launcher. So I've definitely already got one somewhere upstairs. I don't immediately recall if it has the sticker on it, but the sticker drew my eye, but so did this. It's yellow. It's bright yellow. And I can't recall if I've ever seen a bright yellow one in the flesh before. I don't think it adds any particular value to it, but I just thought that, for the price it was being offered, and its windows are intact and all that sort of good stuff, not an unreasonable thing to grab, really. Missiles, but I do have the odd spare missile. But the one I've got at the moment, I think, in fact, I did check, I think it's got red on the inside, which I think is far more standard. But the hatches are quite happy to shut, and the radar dish is just about rotating as it moves, so it's kind of in one piece. It's kind of in one piece. So yeah. But anyway, that's it's the sort of thing I have been grabbing single examples of, but I don't want to go crazy with them. But just nice to see one with a sticker, because I've seen them in pictures with stickers on before now, but I've just never seen one in the flesh with stickers. I also got this little police copter. which kind of reminds me of the Liberator from Blake 7, I think just because of the way the rounded plastic is on this. But now this is... yes, this is a Corgi Junior actually. So I'm pretty sure I had this when I was little. And I've been meaning to grab one. It's the sort of thing I would probably have grabbed off eBay had I spotted one. But this one's got its rotors intact in both places, so I just thought it was quite a reasonable quality example of it. And the stickers are quite clean as well. And it's got 2 landing skis, although I just noticed that one's slightly askew from the other. That's okay. So yeah, just a little thing to pick up really. Right, I'm into my last goodie bag now, and the first thing to come out of it is this. Now, I've had some examples of this before, but I very rarely have the packaging intact with it. And this is a range of toys that came out with the Tron Legacy film. But unusually for this day and age, at least to my mind, it's die-cast. So that immediately appealed to me because I felt that they would last. But I've got this, and in fact, this is Series 2. So I've got this now, obviously, which I don't know. I might leave it on the card actually, just for the sake of having one on the card. But you can see here there's a whole range, and I have this one. I think I've got that one as well, and or is it actually maybe that one I've got? I think I have the 3-man jet, although it looks a bit weird the way they've photographed it there. And I think I've got the 1-man jet as well. And in fact, I've got the command ship as well. So actually, I'm not doing too badly, but that's quite useful, a useful little sort of reference card for them. And they're not expensive. This was the chap who was selling the 3 Terrahawks models, actually, which you'll have seen if you've watched my my Bolton sort of walkthrough video. So he was a very nice chap, and this is, let's say, very, very reasonably priced. So it would have been rude not to pick it up. And it was apparently originally at A&M Bargains Limited for £1.49 when originally released, which actually really would have been a bargain, even more so. But yeah, but I quite like it. I just like the fact that I think they're gonna last a long time if you've got them, which is always nice in this day and age. But yeah, I mean, I like the film as well. I like the sort of the way that the designs were done in the film. They were very, very much nods of the head to the original, which I liked. Now, I haven't looked up this guy's name yet, but I'm pretty confident he comes from the Bucky O'Hare cartoon. And for some bizarre reason, Bucky O'Hare seems to be drawing my eye, even though I was never that into it. So I've no idea why I'm off on one on Bucky O'Hare, but it was very, very cheap, and I was kind of trying to break my duck, no pun intended, honest, in terms of just starting to pick some stuff up just to get myself going, really, because I was humming and hawing too much, which is another danger with the toy fairs, is that you end up tying yourself up in mental knots wondering what you should actually spend your money on. But as I've just recently picked up a Bucky O'Hare, I felt it would be rude not to pick him up for what they weren't asking. So they're quite weird little characters, but I love the fact that he has 4 arms, because I think that's just unusual. I mean, they've given him sort of 4 arms. I've no idea what he's supposed to be. He's a weird sort of mix between a duck and an insect or something. It's kind of weird. I don't know, maybe that's just supposed to be his ducktail area, possibly. It looks like he might have had something for his back originally as well, but I have no accessories with him whatsoever, unlike my Bucky. But anyway, it's just it's quite well moulded. He's got a bit of an expression going on, so he's got some characters to him. So yeah, that's what I sort of helped me to break my duck. Anyway, I also got this from the same sort of box of random stuff. And I have no idea whether or not this is a really sort of collectible thing, but I like the Proton Pack. I thought that was quite nicely detailed. It's really heavy as well. I've no idea what he's made out of, but he's immensely heavy. So yeah, it's just a really, really sort of nice display piece, I thought, because it's just a little reminder of the Ghostbusters, obviously, and yeah, just a bit of fun, really, that one, But if anyone knows any more about this particular figure, then do let me know. I mean, it's not a sort of... It's very much static. It's really... I think it is just a sort of statue for display purposes, really, rather than anything else. But I'd say it just appealed to me. I like his visors. It's really good detail. it's not a sort of an actual kind of exact sculpt of the character, but there's enough detail on there to make it interesting, I think. So yeah, quite cool. Now then, I do have a little habit of doing this as well. I sometimes go for a bit of a delve in the deeply battered Star Wars figure baskets that people have. So for the first time in a very, very long time, I have a rather faded R2-D2. Bless him. There are many in the box, and they were in equally roughed up sort of states of being, but his stickers are kind of vaguely visible still. So maybe he's a sort of Dagobah version, so he's a bit dirty. God, he just clicked quite. That's strange. I wasn't expecting him to click quite so much, but he does. His head clicks for some reason. No idea why. But I mean, he's got no sort of pop-up periscopes or anything of that sort of sort. He's just I don't know what would you call him? He's like a junker, isn't he? He's like a junker R2-D2. But his legs are still attached. Bless him. And he's I assume this is the sort of vintage era. There's a screw holding his dome on there. I know a man, of course, who would be infinitely better at this sort of analysis than myself. But yeah, R2-D2. And as I haven't got many of the sort of hero characters at the moment, I thought it would be rude not to pick up Princess Leia in her initial A New Hope outfit. But I mean, she seems in reasonable sort of condition. Her hands look pretty good. She's quite a sort of clean example, I think. So I guess she's just probably missing her sort of stun blaster and all that sort of good stuff. But yeah, I thought that was quite a nice little pickup. And I also felt that it would be rude not to pick up the Darth Lord of the Sith, of course. No blade, inevitably. Indeed, nothing to actually. Now that I look at it, there's no sort of mechanism for his blade. But I thought that given he's got at least a cape, that might be quite a nice sort of just display piece to have. So yeah, just I haven't had him for many moons. I mean, I used to have him. I used to have his TIE Fighter at one point, but again, he's not in. I don't think he's in bad condition. Maybe just needs a little bit of a clean up if I can manage that, and then he'll do fine to display where I tend to display them. That's fine. But it just means I've got some of these sort of like the hero characters, or a few more of the hero characters now, which is nice. What else? Oh yeah. I ain't getting on no plane, fool. I largely got him just so I could do that gag. And I'd probably, me, I've probably used him in the intro as well. But he's got a little bit of more articulation to him than I thought he had, actually. He's actually got knees, which is always nice. No elbows, that was obviously asking a bit much. But I quite like the sculpt. It's quite entertaining. He's quite soft, actually. Sorry, BA, I don't mean that as a... as an effect. This is obviously BA from the A-Team for those who are unfamiliar and or young. But yeah, I just saw him in the bargain bucket and thought, yeah, funny. I'm trying to use a combination of my glasses and my phone. I still can't quite make out what year that is. I think it's 83. So that's quite old. I mean, that's quite a sort of vintagey sort of figure, really, when all said and done. But I like it. I think it's very, very recognisably BA Baracus. So yeah, fair dues to them. That's cool. Now, one of the other reasons I got BA was because I did say to myself at one point that I was going to get some examples of toys that came from series that I mentioned on my own website, sfxb.co.uk. And some of them are pretty obscure series. And perhaps this one in particular is pretty obscure, even though it had real life characters. Now, how many of you are shouting out what that is? That is the man, the machine, Street Hawk. Now, as soon as I saw this out of the corner of my eye, I thought, is it? Because I don't think I recall seeing any Street Hawk toys. I probably did, because, if they were in the Argos catalogue or whatever at the time, I'm sure I would have noticed them, because I love Street Hawk in the same way that I loved Knight Rider and the A-Team and Airwolf and Blue Thunder and anything that involved a super vehicle. And, Street Hawk was one of those classic, short-lived action series from the 80s that just didn't last terribly long, which was a shame because I think it had a really sort of good premise. And it was basically this guy and then the guy who sits in the control room, giving him intel and generally assisting him at long range. I think I've even got the annual upstairs. And is this... I think it's a reasonable replica of the bike, and this was actually my most expensive buy of the day, although he did reduce it quite substantially for me, bless him. I think because he could see that I was humming and hawing over it, and it was, because its initial sticker price was relatively high, but he brought it back down by about 20 quid. So, but it's got the hyperthrust engine at the back, so I thought, yeah, that's definitely quite a good sort of go at it. It's got a little sort of the flippy up lasery thing at the front there. I've no idea if that actually does anything. I haven't played with this yet. I would imagine that if it were operational, it would do a sort of friction pullback thing. I'm not sure it's going to do that for me. Now, it feels like there's something in there still, but it just doesn't want to go, which is okay. I wasn't expecting that much from it, but I like that. It's got some attempt at the sort of the moulding on the suit, because the suit was very specifically designed for the rider Jesse Hawk. Is it Hawk? Did I just make that up because it's Street Hawk? Jesse somebody. I'm just trying to see if I can zoom in on that for you. I think that's probably 1984, which would I think would be about right. I can't quite read that looking at it as I am now. 1984. Is it Universal or is it something else? I think it definitely says Street Racer, doesn't it, on it, I think. But it is Street Hawk. Can't quite read the rest of it, but I'm sure you can looking at it. But it's definitely Street. Maybe it is a knockoff. I don't know. But I again, this is not one I'd done any research on. Even when I was there, I didn't look it up. I just thought, if I don't get it, I will be annoyed with myself. I've never seen one before. I'll probably never see one again. So I applied that sort of, when will I see another one kind of logic. So even if it isn't a directly authorised Street Hawk, I think that's a bloody good replica of Street Hawk, personally. I doubt anyone will ever do another one again, because I can't imagine there's that much. I know there is some nostalgia for it, because you can find sort of, redos of the theme tune and stuff all over the place. Tangerine Dream did the theme tune, and they then went on to do stuff for like Babylon 5 and that sort of stuff. So they did quite a lot of stuff like that back in the 80s. But I just liked it. It just caught my eye, and I thought, yeah, that means something to me. I'm going to commit. So I did. And that was it. So that was my most unusual pickup of the day, I think, because I've just never seen it before. I'll probably start seeing it everywhere. You know what it's like. Once you get a new car, all of a sudden you think you've got the only car of its type in the world, then you see it everywhere once you've got it. But anyway, I rather like it. It's a shame if it doesn't have any sort of friction power left. You can see there it's got sort of backup wheels to make it more stable underneath. But I like it. And that's definitely going to get a sort of a place in my sort of night ridery sort of sort of area. The other examples of toys like this I have are very, very small as well. Actually, they tend to be sort of Ertl scale. I've yet to get Airwolf, and someone tell me in the comments, why is Ertl Airwolf so expensive? Is it just hard to find, or is it just expensive because it is that hard to find? It just seems incredible. But anyway, that's just me. So yeah, that was quite a long one. I think I'll put this up as a premiere, or I will have done by the time you're listening to this, because I'm at about the 25-minute mark and I've just rambled on. But I hope you've enjoyed having a little look through those, and yeah, just keep an eye out, because I do have a few more videos in mind which I just haven't got to yet, but I wanted to do this one while it was still relatively fresh in my mind. It's been a week, so I wanted to get this one up. Alright then, cheers for now.